Martio here. Welcome to another album ranking on a Tuesday. Busy day today. We've got an album ranking, a retro ranking, and then tonight a special. So we're going to start with an album ranking, and this one is a viewer's request, and it is for the band Trapeze. Trapeze formed in Cannock, Staffordshire in 1969 by ex-members of a band called the Montanas, John Jones and Terry Rowley, and Glenn Hughes, who was in Finders Keepers. Of course, Glenn Hughes went on Sabbath, Phenomena, Black Country Communion, Purple, of course. Oh, he just played with everyone. Gary Moore. And Mel Galley, who was Whitesnake and Phenomena. And then Dave Holland came in, who went on to drum with Judas Priest. He's a Northampton boy. I know he's got a bit of black history, but you know, he was born in Northampton and he lived up the road from my grandparents, so when he was a child. So there we go. So Jones and Rowley left the band and they carried on as a three-piece of Galley, Holland and Hughes until Glenn Hughes was recruited by Deep Purple. They carried on for a little while, and they released 6 albums during their career. All of them are really good. That they didn't. I don't think they didn't put out one bad album. So I just prefer others to others. And also, they brought in another singer called Pete Golby, who went on to work with Uriah Heep, of course. So it's had some really interesting people through the band. So let's have a look at the 6 albums. So coming in at number 6 is their debut album, and it's just called Trapeze, and it was released in 1970. And it's got Glenn Hughes on lead vocals and bass and trombone. Yes, Glenn Hughes can play the trombone. Mel Galley on guitars and backing vocals, Dave Holland on the drums, Terry Rowley on the organ, piano and flute, and John Jones trumpets and co-lead vocals. First track on here is called It's Only a Dream. Very short track. It's in like an intro, some nice guitar work here from Mel, and a little bit of vocal there from Mr. Hughes, not too bad. And then it goes straight into a track called The Giant's Dead Hurrah. Really good track. My favourite track on this album. The guitar work from Mel Galley is fantastic. Great rocking track. Then we get a track called Over, very Beatlesque, this one. Very, very good. Nancy Gray, it's okay. I wouldn't say this one's the best track on the album. It's listenable. Then we get a thing called Fairy Tale, very live Fairy Tale. Good track. You've got John Jones singing on this, and the keyboard from Terry Rowley is pretty good. It's not a bad track, actually. It's My Life, solid track, good solo from Mel Galley. Am I? The bass line here from Glenn is brilliant. Phenomenal bass player, and it's a great vocal from Glenn as well. Suicide. Now this is an interesting track. It's got a great bass line, and you've got both John Jones and Glenn Hughes singing on this, so they sort of interplay between each other. Then we get Wings. I like this track. Great vocal, solid rock track. Another Day. It's not too bad. It's not one of the weakest songs on this album. Send Me No More Letters. A bit poppy. Poppy, bluesy, soul-y thing. It's okay. Then you get a little bit of reprise of It's Only a Dream. I don't know why. It's not a bad album. I'm sure they didn't know what sort of direction they were going in. It's a really solid album though. I don't mind listening to this one or two at all. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6.5. Done it again, haven't I? Right. Turn down the notifications. Must go, remind myself. Okay then, coming in at number 5. It's the sixth and final album, Hold On, released in 1978. It was also released in Germany under a different name, but we can't put up the cover because it's rather rude. And this is the only album that featured Pete Golby on vocals. Obviously went on to work with Uriah Heep after this. So the band at the time was Pete Golby lead vocals and rhythm guitar, Mel Galley lead guitar, backing vocals, Pete Wright on the bass, Dave Holland on the drums, and Terry Rowley was back on the keyboards. Don't ask me how I know. Great song. Great vocal from Pete Golby. Really like him as a singer. I actually saw Uriah Heep when he was in the band, and he was a great singer on there. Take Good Care. I love that riff from Mel Galley. Get plenty of this sort of riffing on the original Slide It In album from Whitesnake. Some of them riffs, very, very similar. When You Get to Heaven, solid rock track. Nothing wrong with this one. Solid. Living on Love, Mel Galley's guitar solo on this is terrific. Brilliant track. Then we get Don't Break My Heart. Love the start of this. Terry Rowley's keyboards. Nice piano start. There's some strings in this. Great vocal as from Pete. Excellent track. Running. Probably the weakest track on the album. Not very keen on that one. Then we get a track called You Are. Love this track. Hammond organ, that rich sound, the great guitars from Mel Galley, and a solid vocal from Pete as usual. Really strong track. Really good track. Then we get Time Will Heal. It's okay. Too many strings on this and a bit flat. Mixed bag album for me, this one is. It's got some great rock tracks on it, but some very mediocre. But all sound good with Pete Golby's vocals. And it was nice to see Terry Rowley back on the keyboards. So I should give this one an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, and coming at number 4. Got the second album from 1970. And it is Medusa. Second album, and this is when they went down to a 3-piece, and it was produced by John Lodge for the Moody Blues. So it's Mel Galley, Glenn Hughes and Dave Holland. First track on this one's called Black Cloud. Love this. Dave Holland's drumming on this is absolutely brilliant. Solid stuff. Some great work on the guitar from Mel on that one as well. Jury, favourite song, one of my favourite songs by Trapeze. It's got that lovely toned vocal from Glenn, backed up by another solid guitar solo and guitar riffs from Mr. Mel Galley. Then we get Your Love Is Alright, quite funky. You'd get more of this funky bass line probably on the Stormbringer album from Glenn. It's got that soulful voice of his on that. It's a really good track. Touch My Life, another good track. I love the riff on this from Mel. This was co-wrote by Mel's brother Tom Galley, who was the man behind Phenomena. So Tom's always sort of done work with Mel. It's a great song. Seafall, great track again. The drumming from Dave Holland is really good on this. It really holds the track together. Makes You Wanna Cry. Again, we got that funky sound that you would get with Deep Purple. I love that funky bass from Glenn Hughes. Then we got the title track and the last track called Medusa. Great track. It's probably, although it's not my favourite track, I think it's the best vocal from Glenn on this. Superb track. Solid stuff. Second album in, and they certainly went down the more rocky way, and I'm glad they did. It's a great album. Some great guitar from Mel on here, and some great vocals from Glenn. So I will give this an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, then coming in at number 3, we have the fourth album. It was released in 1974. And it was the first one they recorded without Glenn Hughes, because he was now in Deep Purple. So on here we've got Mel Galley on guitars and lead vocals. Rob Kendrick now is on guitar and backing vocals. Pete Wright's on the bass. Dave Holland is on drums. Terry Rowley's on synthesizers. We've got Kenny Cole on backing vocals along with Misty Brownie. John Ogden is congas, and Chris Mercer is saxophone. First track on this one's called Backstreet Love. Great opening riff. Great vocal from Mel Galley. He's a pretty good singer, and it's a really strong song. Take It Down the Road. Although the opening riff sounds something like All from Three's All Right Now, I'll give them that. They nicked that one, but it's a really good track because it goes off and does other things. It's strong stuff. Midnight Flyer, funky sound to this one. Nice funky guitar here from Mel Galley. And then we get Wake Up, Shake Up. This is my favourite track on the album. It's got some really dirty riffs from Mel. Terrific stuff. Solid drumming from Dave Holland as ever. Then we get Turn It Out, bass line from Pete Wright here. He's brilliant. You know, he's filling big shoes of Mr. Hughes. Dave Holland again, solid as ever. This actually proves that he's not just a good rock drummer. He's a really good jazzy sort of drummer as well. Steal a Mile, probably some of Dave Holland's best drumming on this excellent track. Then we get Going Home. It's a nice bluesy number here. Great guitar from Mel. Feel It Inside. It's okay, solid enough, a bit funky. It is a very good album. You know, Mel taking over from the vocals, and he did a very good job. Most enjoyable album. Great rock and funk. And I'll give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay then, coming in at number 2. This is the fifth album from 1975, and it's called Trapeze, or also known as Trapeze 1975. Got Mel Galley on guitars and vocals, Rob Kendrick on the guitar, Pete Wright on the bass, Dave Holland on drums, and guest vocals done by the one and only Mr. Glenn Hughes. So the first track on here is called Starbreaker. Love the solo on this. Really good. Nice track. It's Alright. Mellow track. Really mellow. Catchy little tune. Great vocal from Mel Galley. Chances. Brilliant track. Great hearing Glenn back in the band guesting. Nice little track. His vocal is superb on this. You know, considering he was probably under the influence of some substance at the time, but the guitar work is very good from Mel as well. The Raid, love that funky start, and then it goes into a proper rock track. Then we get a cover version of a song that was written in 1930, and it's a very popular track, On the Sunny Side of the Street. Loads of people have covered this, from Bing Crosby, Ella Fitzgerald, Judy Garland, Doris Day, Brenda Lee, Frankie Lane. They've all done it, even Rod Stewart. It's a good version. It's different from everyone else's because they've made it into a bit of a rock track. Absolutely excellent track. Gimme Good Love. It's probably Mel Galley's best vocal that he did with Trapeze. Some great guitar playing on this as well. Great track. Then we get Monkey, solid track, great riffs in this, great little rock track there. I Need You, Dave Holland's drumming is superb in this. Keeps the song going, it's very solid. Soul Stealer, solid stuff from Mel on the guitar. Nothing for Nothing, my favourite track on here, probably because it's got Glenn Hughes singing on it, but it's a phenomenal track anyway. I think this is the best album post Glenn Hughes, although he does appear on this. But I think Mel Galley, he did a sterling job on the vocals on Hot Wire. I think he really came into his own here. He was a bit more comfortable, and it's a great album. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. How have you been following this quite closely, and you're a big fan of this band? You must know what my number one is. It was released in 1972, and it's called You Are the Music, We're Just the Band. Third album. And I love the cover for a start, as that is a super cover. So we've got Glenn Hughes on the bass, Mel Galley on guitars, Dave Holland on the drums. Guest stars, we've got BJ Cole steel guitar, Rob Argent on the electric piano on Coast to Coast, and piano on Feeling So Much Better Now. Kirk Duncan electric piano as well, John Odkin doing some percussion, Frank Ricotti on the vibraphone, one of my favourite instruments, and Jimmy Hastings on the alto sax. First track here is called Keeping Time. This opens up some great drumming from Dave Holland, riffs come in, and then you get the little bit of steel guitar from BJ Cole. Excellent track. Then we get Coast to Coast, great vocal from Glenn Hughes. When he does the slower tracks, his voice really shines. Lovely electric piano here from Rob Argent, solid track. Then we get What Is a Woman's Role, another soulful song, an absolute belter of a guitar solo from Mel Galley. Really like that track. Then we get my favourite track on here, Way Back to the Bone. It is my favourite track by Trapeze. It's the drumming at the beginning that Dave, and then you get hooked in by that riff from Mel. The bass and the vocals of Glenn Hughes. It's just a superb track. Feeling So Much Better Now. More driving riffs than Mr. Galley. Fantastic vocal as ever from Glenn. And a great bit of piano work here from Rob Argent. Terrific track. Will I Love And. Soulful track again. Mel Galley's best guitar solo on this album. It's absolutely brilliant. And then throw in a bit of sax as well, and it's a solid track. Loser, a funky track. And this does show Dave Holland's versatility as a drummer. Very funky jazz riffs in this from him. Sound really good. Then we get You Are the Music, We're Just the Band. Great track. Glenn's vocal is brilliant on this. You know, you'd get this more when he's in Deep Purple. That funky Rickenbacker bass sounding absolutely brilliant on this track. Great way to end the album. Solid album from top to bottom here. It's got everything on it. Rock, blues, soul, funk. And I think this is when Trapeze were definitely at their peak. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. So there we go. A great band. Always seems to get forgotten about. But not by me. I love this band. It's got, you know, Glenn Hughes, Mel Galley, Dave Holland. All went on to do great things. And as he's a Northampton boy, I don't, you know, Dave Holland, you know, it's nice to see one of our own. Okay, he got himself into trouble, but doing a great job. Okay, that's all for this one. I'll be back very shortly with a retro ranking, and today we're going to look at some AC/DC songs that didn't appear on albums. And then don't forget tonight, and by the time I put that up it'll be probably 10 o'clock tonight, I've got a Rush Top 10 with Joe Jamfrey from Joe's Vinyl Universe. Looking forward to that one. So I will see you later. Bye for now.